feel like a lot of people like myself, uh, when I was first learning about boundaries, had a whole fear about it, like a whole fear in expressing myself in this way and expressing my needs and, because that wasn't, there was no safety when I was growing up. I did not feel safe enough to do that. So for me, I had to learn.
Can I ask a question about
What?
that? Can I ask you a question about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
Is it when you say growing up, do you mean like family system wise or the cultural narrative of just systemic oppression? Like, can you give me a little bit more?
Yeah, sure.
We
Just
won't turn this into a therapy session. Don't
no,
worry.
no, 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 no. Yeah, this interview is about you, but like I'm definitely here to share, because I feel like that's how people can relate to each other as
Of
humans. Like we
course.
all have stories, and yeah, for me, like growing up, um, I guess it was a little bit of both because I'm Jamaican. I grew up in Jamaica, and I didn't move here till I was 12. So the way that my mother and my father had a relationship, it wasn't like a serious committed relationship. I don't think, from what I witnessed, because he had other women, and there's 9 of us, right? There's 9 of us. There's two to like different women, and we all knew about each other, and all the women knew about each other. So he had a home, and my mother had a home. So I would share. I'd go back and forth, and that to me just wasn't stable because I didn't have a good relationship with my father, and also my mother too. She wasn't very present, like emotionally. Like I don't blame her. She just didn't know how to do it. Like my mother didn't grow up like hugging or saying I love you or being emotional. So for me, whenever there was emotion expressed, my mother would shut it down. She'd be like, stop crying, or like, shut up, or like, go sit down over there, or, things like that. And I feel like too that's part of the Jamaican culture. I feel like maybe others might disagree, but my experience as a Jamaican and being in the culture is like we can be an aggressive culture. Like there's not, I don't feel that I saw a lot of loving spaces, or it was just shown differently. It wasn't like lovey dovey, like emotional. Um, so for me to express myself, I was a quiet kid because I didn't feel comfortable speaking or expressing myself, and I didn't feel safe to do that. And when I did, I was shut down. So for me, um, that too played a part in how I showed up in relationships, like in wanting to express myself. And a lot of it was just anger or not knowing how to, or being like shutting down, but like, no, like I don't want to deal with you because I don't know how to. So stay over there. So yeah. So that for me, and I recognize and I see it now. I see how it shows up in my relationships, and again, the anxious attachment style because I didn't feel safe. So I want to like attach to everything so that it could bring me safety. So yeah, that's how that played out for me in my childhood and how it's playing out in my adult relations. So yeah.
I can imagine that for you, a lot of that safety would probably be so benefited from people just saying to you, "Hey, like I want to know your boundaries. care about your feelings. I want to know what's coming up for you. Tell me. I know it's hard,
Yeah.
but I'm here."
Yeah.
Like, oh, literally, like over and over and over again, not just like one time,
Yeah.
because it's like again, it's like when those emotions are shut down, it does feel like a really huge risk. It's a huge risk to reveal them because of those very valid fears of being shut down, rejected, and shame, all those things.
Hmm.
So, I'm so grateful that you shared that, Peta, because I think it really normalizes the struggle around boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's so relatable and it's so understandable.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, is this word that we just think like, oh no, but why is it so hard for me? Well, there's probably a really good reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you say we get to normalize it. I feel like it's boundaries. It's one of those words that can have a negative like tone. It's
Totally.
like right? So, and that too, I had to figure that out. I was like, it's not negative, Peta. This is love. Like, this is love for the other person and love for yourself, mostly for you. But like you said, this is a way to, boundaries are a way to establish like even a deeper connection and to express our own needs and how we want to be treated in relationship. And so I feel like it's important to say that, like, it's not this scary thing that, or negative thing that, is supposed to just be negative or destructive. It's supposed to be beneficial, and it's supposed to, expand and create connections and deeper connections and evolution and all of those things. I feel like it's a good thing. It's a great thing to have.
Well, and noticing how people are expressing boundaries around us, and if they have been harsh or rigid or shaming, or those can impact our the way we see boundaries. I hate using the word boundaries in actual conversation. Like, it's great as a intellectual conversation about it, but like, I rarely would ever recommend someone to say like, hey, this is my boundary around this. Once in a while it can work, but more so, hey, this is what I need. Hey, I don't
Mm,
like it when you do this. Hey, please don't talk to me that way. um Again, all depends on where you are relationally with someone.
yeah.
Even recommending not to use that word, most
Mm,
I really don't recommend using it for most situations.
yeah. It's it's really in essence a need, like a need that you want to express, that is really really valuable to you.
A need or limit usually can weave in between those two.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that. But yeah, thank you for that.
Of
I feel
course.
better about expressing myself with that. I was like, oh, that was good. Thanks. So yeah, maybe a mini therapy session.
I know I always, because whenever I get interviews, I was like, I want to know about the other person too. It's a weird thing for me to do interviews without like engaging and asking about the other person. But I'm trying to just be in the hot seat, but I also it's an odd thing for me sometimes, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I appreciate it. I appreciate when people give, because rarely do people give it back to me, but I do appreciate when they do, because I'm like, oh, okay, because then it throws me off guard, and then I have to kind of go within myself to like check in, like, oh, thank you for that check in. Yeah, I feel I kind of just want to break down like the steps of boundary setting, right? Because although there is so much depth and complexity to the word boundaries, boundaries, I kind of like want to just do like a breakdown. So I think we covered like the initial part, like what do you feel would be best for someone to go about setting their boundaries? Do they start with like their values, like what's meaningful to them, what's meaningful in relationship? Like, how would they go about addressing setting up healthy boundaries for themselves, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no one way. There's just such a this can be approached so in so many different ways, but just intuitively based on what comes up as you ask that question. The first thing is, we usually don't know our boundaries are being violated or injured until they are.
Mm,
It's not like we always know. Sometimes we just know, oops, this thing happened. It didn't feel good,
mm,
and we can notice that, right? This doesn't feel good. Or if we're in a relationship with someone, when we start to feel resentment or anger or frustration, usually those are good indicators that boundaries might be at play, where maybe it can even be something like, you asked this question at the beginning that I think is really important. There's boundaries that are relational and there's boundaries that are personal. One
mhm,
of the habits I have when I can start to feel myself, because I like to help. I like to be there. Again, this is also part of my focusing too much externally, needing to come back into my own self.
mhm.
I can go into helping mode to another person, and then feel so resentful, even though the other person never asked me to do anything. I was like,
Ah,
well, it doesn't even have to do with the other person necessarily, right?
right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel resentful. Or there might be someone that is asking you for help, 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 and you're like, whoa, 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 I'm feeling resentful. So
Mhm.
those uncomfortable feelings and starting to weave those apart and just, spending some time, maybe journaling, talking it out with a safe friend, or even just, reflecting. And if you have that capacity to self-reflect, because I didn't for a long time and I needed a therapist for that. And that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Just to be able to ask, oh, I wonder what happened. Asking yourself those questions. I wonder what happened. Why do I think I'm feeling resentful? What has been happening lately? Um, and then also noticing, like I said, some of your vulnerabilities and sensitivities. Those can be windows where we tend to feel our boundaries violated more frequently because they're already sensitive spots.
Yeah.
So again, the noticing part is huge. We
Mhm.
want to spend some time there. And then once we figure out, oh, you know what? I realized that when I went to that party, that person made a comment about my body, or they were really shaming about the way they were very passive aggressive in the way they were communicating with me. I
Mhm.
don't like that. And depending on how safe it is, if we want to take that boundary to that person and we want to continue a relationship with them, we want to start practicing expressing it. Here's the thing: if we're really uncomfortable doing that, that might not be the first step. We
Yeah.
might want to practice with a safe friend and do some role play with them for a while. We might want to practice some key boundary examples and do it in the mirror for a while.
Mhm.
What is the boundary I want to express? When you speak to me like this, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
That's one form of a boundary. Um, when you when you know when I'm trying to give like a practical example because I know that can help really ground things in. Um, when I feel like my boundaries around, I'm sorry, I'm taking away the boundaries. When I feel like my perspective isn't really considered or my opinion is minimized, it makes me feel really shut down. That's
Mhm.
a way of not making about the other person at all. Like,
Yeah.
and there's layers, the consequences of what we share are going to get deeper and deeper and more intense as as the need to protect ourselves becomes more important, right? If somebody is starting to get a little bit more harmful, there are types of messages they're not getting it, maybe that's when we start bringing consequences into the picture. But I
Mm.
do like reminding people of practice, whether it's with a professional, with a close friend. Can we just like practice this boundary thing, because I'm so uncomfortable and I just want to get out the words. I want to just like kind of speak them. Even maybe, you may do a voice note. Mirror work can be really powerful as a first step. And then, once we start expressing it to other people, we, everyone's going to have a different response internally. Some of us feel a lot of guilt. Some of us feel shame. Some of us feel just really uncomfortable, like we did something wrong.
Mhm.
So as you can see, there's so
Yeah.
many layers to this. And I'm always like, I don't want to say too much because it can
Yeah.
get a lot.
Mhm.
There's no like, if we're more comfortable, we're gonna skip the mirror, and we're gonna just kind of speak it. And then if someone gets offended or that we care about, we can work through that after we set the boundary. Hey, I get it. Boundaries are uncomfortable, and this, I get that you probably didn't realize you were doing this. I know your intentions are good. I care
Mhm.
about you. I love you. I want our relationship to be solid. That's why it's so important that I'm telling you these things. I otherwise I would just shut down and start to distance myself. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. You said a few things there that like stuck out to me. And yeah, I love that. For me personally with boundaries, I tend to talk it out with myself first
Mm.
because I'm usually like I'm a double fire sign. So I'm like if I'm triggered, I'm like I'm on fire and I'm like, mm. So I would need to have that conversation with myself first in the mirror, like, okay, P, like we didn't like the way this person spoke to us. And like, or just pretend like I'm talking to the person, really. I usually talk it out with them mentally before I even go there, just to see what that feels like. And so yeah, I think it's important. Oh, that's what you said. You said it's important to know that it's not about the other person.
Mhm.
Like it's about you. So like we're often afraid to approach the person because we're like we don't want to hurt their feelings or we don't want to create any walls or negative feelings or all of that. And we forget that you're triggered. It's about you. It's about meeting your needs and your limitations. And
unless the other person is being outwardly harmful, right? That distinction.
right, right.
Unless they're being condescending, or they're saying nasty things, or they're actually potentially teetering the line of abuse, then
Yeah.
it's about us. So it's like I want to just like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
also can take it
There's a
far
thing. Yeah.
in I think in the new age kind of spiritual communities. I tend to see that sometimes there can be there's a line where, yes, it's great to have that personal responsibility, and yes, our feelings are always about us, but you're also an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not taking responsibility for what's actually not mine. This boundary is about reflecting back to you. That's not okay. And
Right. That part.
my fiery side coming up now, Peta.
Yeah. What side are you?
I'm a Cancer sign.
Ah, nice. So you have fire placements somewhere in there?
Oh, you have to read my chart. I don't know.
I
The
can't.
horoscope reading is after this interview.
Yeah, like check the. No, don't check it. Like there will be none. But
There will be none.
but yes, Cancer as a water sign. Yes, I'm sure you're very emotional with all of that. But yeah, as a fire sign, I'm just like like go. I'm on fire. I need to take care of this like right now. But sometimes I like it's a slow burn for me too. It's like a all right, let me marinate in this. For example, because I had like two major things come up for me last year where I was just like, oh my God, this is huge. And I gotta set boundaries. What the hell? And I was just like in this space of like, okay, how do I do this? And it was professional, right?
Mhm.
Professional for me, I feel like is the, like the friendships, sure. Like, listen, we need to have a talk. I'm not playing with you. Like, stop. But the the professional, right? Because in physical therapy, I go to the homes and you know, they may be safe environments, maybe they're not. It just depends. But I remember going to a home and I showed up to work with this patient. I worked with her a few times, but it was in Compton. I don't think it was the best part of like the neighborhood, but this was a Black patient and she had brothers that were there. And one night they were drunk one evening and I was there and forget it. They were just like, hey, baby, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, you do therapy? Like, can you work on me? Like, it was like, and then it got out of hand. It got really out of hand because I was wearing a mask and they're like, take your mask off. Let's see your face. Like, and there was two of them and they were drunk. And I was just like, okay. But I was like frozen, Sylvie. I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't think I've ever been in this situation. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. But I went home and I was so angry. I was just like, they have no right to speak to me that way. Cause they kind of cornered me at one point. I was leaving and they were like, take your mask off. We want to see your face. We want to see what you look like. And one point, I mean, he may almost reached out to like pull my mask down. And I was just like, so it was like a sexual boundary that was violated like in all sorts of ways. And I sat there like, and I went home and I was like frozen. And I was just like, what do I do? Like, I've never been in this situation before. Or I have with like just men on the street, just like hooting and hollering, fine. Like they're not in my space. But to have two men and two Black men like in my face going, hey girl, like, and I'm a lesbian. So, that sort of attention is kind of uncomfortable for me at times. So, but it was a lot. And I was like, what do I do? So I had to really sit down and contemplate it. Like, okay, boundaries. Like, there's a serious need. Like, I can't go back into this home and not have a conversation. So I was prepared to do that. I feel like I talked it out with myself. I like vented. I like cussed them out. I did all the things that felt good to me to release it. But I went into the home, Sylvie, and the brother's friend was the one. So the brother was there. But I went there and he was quiet as a mouse. He barely looked at me. I was just like, hello. And that was it. And I was just like, well, do I need to have this conversation still? Like, what? I don't know what just happened. I don't know what's going on and I don't know what to do with it. But I felt comfortable enough to kind of leave it alone because it was like her last visit. And I was like, I don't believe I'm coming back here to see him. So I feel like some things, I mean, is it safe to leave it alone? Or some things do we need to have that conversation? For me, I was trying to figure that out. Like what felt good to me. And in the moment, it felt good to just leave it alone. I feel like I talked myself through it. I was in like a chat group and I had just expressed it there and people were supportive of me there. And
Mm.
so yeah, I feel like it's tough sometimes to distinguish
So
like
I mean, that's a
when
perfect
to go
example.
there.
It's such a perfect example of how it's such a moment to moment assessment. And like you did your work around it and you had one decision about it. And then when you got there, you kind of changed your mind and how valid that is. And, sometimes boundaries are about just pulling ourselves out of situations and not actually addressing it with other people. I think especially like you said, in situations where it might not be safe, or like when power dynamics, work environments are one of the hardest places to set
Yeah.
boundaries, as well as family. Those are two areas where it's really, really challenging. And I think the work especially is those power dynamics. Like, am I going to lose my job if I speak up for myself? Like, what's the repercussions? Do I have to deal with the discomfort now being in this environment again? And even like what you said with, yeah, very, very valid and just things I hear so often, and it's very nuanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up with you. But I wanted to address two things, right? Kind of like what I just finished speaking on, which is if there is, I know, and I've seen you put this information out on your page, but if there's someone that's just not receiving, right, your boundaries or your request, your limitations, what you're asking for, how do we then? I know every situation is different. I'm 1,000% sure that every single situation is different when it comes to this. But um, how then do we like deal with it from that perspective? Like they're not honoring my boundaries. What do I do with it now? Like, do you have any advice
Because
for
you've expressed the boundary, you've made it clear what's a limit. They're not getting, they're not able to get it, they're not hearing it for whatever reason, or they're just intentionally, they don't care, they're not making it a priority. Um, and this is that line of, depending on where we are relationally, depending on how we want them to be in our lives. Again, this will differ if it's a work situation versus if this is a relationship, intimate or a friendship. um yeah, this is where consequences start to really be an important role, not ultimatums.
Mm,
Ultimatums.
what's the difference?
Well, ultimatums, like, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. It has like a threat component to it.
Okay.
And consequences are really ideally best best served when we're in a clear place about them, but we're again, it's about us, and it's about just letting the person know this is what will happen if this behavior continues.
Mm,
And I talk about this a lot in my boundaries program. Actually, I go into um like different ways to gauge, and also, starting with mild ones to begin with. Again, it depends on what's happening, right? If someone is being really, really hurtful, and there's an intentionality and there's a cruelty, hopefully we can that's
yeah.
very different than someone who's maybe just not getting it, but they're still doing it, and we want to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
So there's a variety of ways. And if I just give you like a simple example of that, would be, when you do, I'm trying to think of one on the spot. When you don't validate my emotions, when I've told you that this is really important for me, I start to shut down in my body.
Mm,
And you're not making it about the other person in this example. Again, so there's no right way. This is a way that I like to recommend, because you're letting them know the relational impact
yeah. Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
If it's not a big thing happening, um and then, if it's severe, if you keep going to parties, on family dinners, on holidays, and you're getting shamed for your body or how you're eating, maybe it's a firmer boundary. This is the third year this is happening. You're saying it over and over. And if you want to be part of that experience, that's your choice. Not everyone has to do this. I think this is really important because sometimes, like, what, I'm gonna go be in the upstairs bedroom and take care of myself for a while. I'm not gonna really be downstairs, but I want to be a part of my family experience. For
Mm,
others, it might look like, if you continue to do this, I will leave. I will leave, and I won't be part of the experience together tonight.
mm,
So, and you're not doing it from a place of ultimatum. You're doing it from a place of that self-honoring and self-protection.
yeah.
There's so much more I could say to this, but I just feel like I want to be mindful of not doing too much. I feel like it. I think we got a good solid handle. What do you think?
We really did. And then I want to address lastly, like the flip side of that, right? Like if someone's letting you know their boundaries and you're not really receiving it that well or understanding it, or like what are some of the things that someone can do to um, try to understand someone's boundary or respect someone's boundary, or even if they're feeling shame and guilt around it and feeling like bad, like, ah, it's me, right? Like how would you advise or address that?
What can they do about those feelings, you mean, or
Yeah,
their
yeah,
experience? Yeah.
yeah.
I would start with exploration, really getting in touch with what's happening first and foremost. Again, it's the noticing, it's the flip side, right? What's happening with me? What do I feel? Do I feel sad? Do I feel, rejected? Do I feel rejected is more of an intellectual experience? Do I feel angry? Do I feel, am I experiencing feelings of being abandoned? Like, what's coming up for me? Do I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm making a mistake here? Do I feel trapped by this person's boundary? There's so many different kinds of responses to boundaries. And then, yeah, first sitting with that and noticing them, and then working with them. Why do I experience these things? Did I pick these up somewhere? Where, were these experiences that I experienced growing up, that maybe I had a parent who reacted harshly to me, or they cut off connection in ways that was abrupt and rigid. And so doing a little bit of that work can help us contextualize it. Again,
Yeah,
everything's about contextualizing.
yeah.
Because again, if I had a parent, for example, that they were maybe hot and cold, sometimes I experienced connection deeply with them, and sometimes they were not really there, emotionally kind of checked out. And it could be because of a very valid thing like a mental illness or a physical illness.
Yeah.
But I experienced when someone sets a boundary as like, uh-oh, maybe it's a fear of like, I'm going to lose this person for a long time. So
Mm,
there's so many possibilities. And this is why, this is one of the downfalls, I think, of putting work on social media, that I'm as a therapist and coach, like I have to really be careful and be nuanced about, because I sit with people for long periods of time, session after session after session, until we unpack and explore these things. Sometimes we don't even come up with this for 6 months, 8 months, until
mm,
someone feels really safe to go to those places. And when we post something on social media about these things, I just really want to urge people to, there's a reason why we do everything. There's, it's just to normalize it. And it's so important that it's contextualized. And if something doesn't make sense to you, there's a reason for it. And it's like, I hate that people are feeling shamed, so much shame, and that they're doing something wrong if they don't meet this list of responding to boundaries perfectly.
yeah,
No, you're a human being.
yeah.
And I feel rejected sometimes when people set boundaries, especially if their delivery is a little bit harsh. I feel it. You know
Yeah,
what, it happens. And even knowing this stuff for 8, 9 years, we're allowed to feel rejection. We're allowed to feel rejection.
it's
It's like
normal.
what we do with those feelings can be really informing. It can help us get to know ourselves and our unique experiences so much more deeply.
No, I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. Um, and this could go for like all emotion, just to explore it. Like if you're feeling rejected, or it's most likely related to, your own experiences as a child or with your caregiver, all the things, right? So
Right. Or you just care about the person and you just feel a moment of sadness. That's all. Might
yeah,
not even have anything to do with the past. It might just be you're a sensitive human that feels your feelings,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Your heart's open and you felt something, you
yeah.
know?
No, I like that. I like that you said it. It's okay. It's okay to feel that. It's normal. Um, but to also explore what that feels like for you in relation with this other person as well. Um, or thing, situation. But I like that. I love that. Thank you.
Of course.
Um, so yeah, is there anything else that you feel like we haven't talked or touched on that you'd like to offer?
I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
more, but I think we've covered enough. If anyone wants to check out my boundaries program, you're welcome to. I can share that link with you and offer lots of practical scripts in there because I think that's one of the challenges that people have a lot of times is just the languaging, not
Mm,
knowing how to express it, or even just like, you know, seeing words can help inspire our own words to come up.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Really. But that's why I love your page and your content, like because
Thank you, Peter.
no, they usually fill me. So thank you. I was telling you this off camera, but I feel like your work is so vital at this time. I mean, it's vital for all times, but like especially around this pandemic, it's a lot of us are like having to face off with ourselves and our relationships as well, our personal relationships. So even professional as well. So I love your work. I love that you're just open and so heart centered, and that you receive people in just an open, loving way, and you give from this loving space, and I love that about you. Like you like your work resonates with me. Like you as a person resonate with me. And yeah, and I did meet you last year, and I was so excited to meet you last year. Almost a year ago. It was like Valentine's Day. I know yeah, I was excited to then I asked her, I was like, I'd love to collab with you, and here we are. So for me, this is like a dream come true, and I so respect and love your work and what you do. So please keep showing up. Like we definitely need your medicine, and I'm so happy to have you here to share more of your medicine. And I hope this episode is really informative and educational and valuable for people around boundaries. So thank you
Thank
for
you so
this.
much, Peter, for having me and for your beautiful words. I receive them and equally feel so much love whenever I interact with you. So I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, but we have a vibing with Peta segment. It's just a few fun questions to
Oh,
end the yeah, like we gotta have some fun too. Like
my gosh, I'm scared.
oh, they're fun questions, Sylvie. They're so much fun. I love asking my guests these questions, and we have a fun time. Okay, so it's called Vibing with Peta segment. Okay, and so my first question is, what significant figure, whether living or dead, would you like to meet or have met?
Hmm. Esther Perel. She's
Okay,
an
and why?
incredible psychotherapist. That would be a dream. I've met her in person, but I want to have dinner with her. I want to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. You just like her work or
For life, just she's filled with so much wisdom and depth, and I feel like having wise elders is something that um, I didn't get to experience because I moved away and I immigrated at such a young age. So I was away from my family, my aunts and uncles and grandparents. So yeah, wise elders, and she's definitely the person I'd love to be. And Lucille Ball, maybe too.
okay, Lucille. Well, I'm sure she
Strange.
yeah, did you love the I Love Lucy series?
Oh, I Love Lucy is just there. She's the best, and that show is the best.
Yeah. Yeah. My ex-wife's sister is also obsessed with that show. And to me, I'm always trying to understand, well, that's a different show. I'm not gonna go there. But yeah. That's cool. Maybe you will next lifetime, Lucille Ball, right? Um, so for this is a quarantine question, right? So if Brian was not in your life
Mm.
and we got called to be in quarantine again, I know there's people still stuck at home, but I know Los Angeles were a little bit more open. But if you got stuck in quarantine, right? What celebrity
Hmm.
would you want to be stuck in quarantine with?
That is a really funny question.
I know it is.
But it would have to be someone really funny.
Okay.
Oh gosh, my mind is gonna go blank. I have to like think of the funny celebrities. Funny celebrities. Blake Lively seems like she'd be really funny and quirky. Um, who else is really funny? Like one of the late night hosts. Like I feel like
Like a Jimmy Kimmel or
yeah, like someone like that that just like can just be entertaining and just make fun of the realities of the world right now, but in a way that's like lighthearted and playful, but still very in touch with what's going on in the world.
yeah. Okay. So comedy. You like comedy. Comedy is your thing.
I do.
I'm assuming Brian makes you laugh a lot. Is he
Yes.
funny?
I'm the one usually prancing around more. I think it's more me making him laugh, but he definitely makes me laugh too. Yeah.
No.
He lets me put on my wigs and like put on funny shows and do my little skits. So I used to be an actress, by the way.
Oh,
So
you
that's
did.
where the comedy side comes in.
Oh, then the Lucille ball makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
You did. Oh, Sylvie. Next episode, we gotta go there. Like on another
It's a
episode.
different rabbit hole to go down.
Yes. No, I'm very intrigued now. So next out.
I
Another
don't know if you saw the Love is I don't know if you saw the Love is Blind skit that we did. Did you ever see it?
Yes, I
Where we
did. I
that's
did. I
like I
did.
got to bring out the that side of me got to finally come out to blend the therapy and the comedy world.
No, I love that. And I love that, you know what, when you put it out there, I didn't see the show. So I was just like, whoa, this is a clip from a show that I haven't seen, but it was funny. But when I saw the clip, it was even funnier. I was like, oh, I get it now.
I love that.
Oh my God, can you do more of those, please? Like, what
It's in the works, Peter.
more? I know, I'm just demanding, but that's awesome. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay, so what do you feel that the pandemic has taught you about yourself being
Hmm.
in this pandemic? Like one thing that stands out to you that you learned about yourself from last year and this year.
I think I mean I feel very lucky that my family lives really close by. Both my parents, my sister live in the 30-mile vicinity in LA, and I feel like it really allowed me to feel like a closeness to them that I kind of caught me off guard, and I've been close to them, but I feel like it allowed me to appreciate them and my parents in particular in a deeper level. Been having to have we've been able to have deeper conversations about like their immigration journey, and it's been so touching to hear what they've been through and learn about more about their story. It's wild how you can know people even in your own family and like still not know parts of their story, right?
Yeah.
So I really want to just know people's stories more. I think even shifting a lot of my work from, yes, it's great to have tools and to know frameworks and things, but there's so much wisdom from people's lived experiences,
Yeah.
you know? So
Agree.
I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate more of that. And there's nothing to figure out, you just do it, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a shift that I'm noticing is happening within me through this year. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. That's beautiful.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay. New hobby that you've picked up in quarantine, if any, or old hobby that you've been doing more of because of the pandemic.
I'm playing a lot more piano and singing. So piano, I would definitely say I've been uh, allowing myself to engage a little more deeply and taking the practice more deeply. So yeah, singing, playing the piano. One
Still,
day I'll have a therapy, singing, acting musical.
how cool would that be though?
Amazing.
Sylvie, there's so many creative levels to you. I'm so excited to learn these now. That's awesome. Piano,
Piano, yeah.
singing, cool. When are we gonna see that on your page?
I share it in my stories sometimes,
Yeah.
once in a while. Yeah.
Nice.
Never gets a full grid post, but maybe it'll inspire me. We'll see.
It needs one. I'm falling for that. Well, that's dope. I never knew these things about you, so that's awesome. Okay, so what book, podcast, music. It's a four-part question, right? So, what book are you reading right now? What podcast are you listening to? What music slash artist and series you're binging to?
Mm. Book that I'm reading, I'm revisiting the book Wisdom of Anxiety by my friend Cheryl Paul, which is incredible, incredible,
Mm.
incredible book on anxiety. Show that I'm watching, I just finished this show called The Night Manager on Amazon Prime. It was really, really awesome. I'm also been watching a lot of international shows. Like I feel like because I can't travel, I'm like I just want to watch and soak up other cultures and
Yeah.
just it's transporting me. It's really allowing my fantasies to come alive a little bit more and my imagination to have space. So I would say a variety of different international movies and shows.
Awesome. All right. And what music or artist are you rocking to right
Music or artist? Gosh, um, I've been listening to her and I'm totally blanking on her name. Eva Cassidy
now? Yeah, Cassidy. Oh, yeah.
passed away a while ago, and she's
Okay.
lovely. Just a very angelic, beautiful voice.
Nice.
And then you said podcast.
Yes.
Podcast. I'm listening to a podcast called Conspirituality that I'm really enjoying. That's highlighting some interesting narratives between what's happening um, between the spiritual world and the conspiracy. It's a
Mm.
very intellectual, very interesting. I'm really enjoying that. And I binge watch everything Esther. I listen to everything Esther Perel, everything she puts out. She has one podcast called Where Should We Begin? That's has multiple seasons now. That's absolutely fantastic. If you really want to hear her doing, she's doing therapy with couples. You learn so much. You see yourself in this, and of course, as a therapist, it's very stimulating for my own brain.
Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of podcasts, I did subscribe to your podcast and I have heard some episodes.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's
Whenever
been a while. I haven't recorded anything, so
I know. But yeah, I like your podcast as well.
thank you so
So,
much.
you're welcome. Okay. What is your self-care routine look like? What does a therapist self-care routine look like? Or Sylvie's?
Your routine look like? Um, Going to therapy every 2 weeks. That's
Okay.
the last for me right now. Um, I would say making repairs with people that I care about really quickly,
Mm.
reaching out to at least 3 friends and initiating conversations with them on a weekly basis. Even if it doesn't happen, that reaching out for me is really important. Checking in with my close friends. Um, if I'm feeling activated or dysregulated, taking a bath is really, really helpful for me. Being in the water is very, very healing. Um, those are the things. And really connections with others right now has really been getting me through a lot. There's a lot more relational focus for me in this phase of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you on that. I hear
And
that.
allowing myself to have ice cream more frequently and not
Amen to that. Amen.
cookies
What's your favorite flavor?
and cream, without a doubt.
Mm,
You?
yes, me
You
too.
do? So
But
good.
I do like going to Cold Stone and like putting in my own stuff. So I'll do like brownies and like Snickers and all the things that you should not be putting in ice cream. But
Goodness.
it's so good. But yeah, but if I had to just buy it already made, cookies and cream for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, I hear you.
Sylvie, you know what's up. Okay, last question for you. If you had one message for the world, just one, what would it
Hmm. Goodness. Wow. How do I answer something like this?
be?
One message. Just prioritize your relationships with people, really make space to have them be consistent and investing in them and nurturing them, especially in this age where there's so much focus on work and I get it, for so many of us we're privileged that we can, especially I think as women, we can work and we have the space to step into our um, into the things that we love, and just making sure that we're always in keeping in mind the people that we love. Time goes by fast. If anything, this pandemic is teaching us, like, whew, our relationships really. They are very important and they play a huge role in everything.
You do. Yeah, I resonate with that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think relationships, I think I had to learn, like based on childhood, I really had to learn to, I think first, do my own self regulation because I often was just triggered by people. I was just like, I don't know how to deal with people. Like, I can't stand people. I don't want to deal with them. People just get on my nerves. Like, I was that way like a few years back where I was just like, no, I don't trust people. I don't feel safe. And then I had to learn my own stuff, my own shit, like go really deep in order to um, just kind of undo and unlearn and regulate and know how to be my own safe space, right? So, yeah, so connections for me, I find, but that I found that that's really what I want. As much as I was just like pushing it all away, that's really what I want. I want to be in close, meaningful connections with
Mm.
people, you know? So that has definitely been a thing for me this year, last year, and this year with the pandemic. I'm like, we need people. We need people. Mental health is a thing, and people definitely help.
We're pack animals. We need people. We're supposed to be in community with others.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That.
Like respect our boundaries.
Yes. And that was the thing too. It was just like I was like extreme with it where I'm like, anxious, right? Anxious is I'm like, come closer, I need you here. And I'm like, that's not healthy as well, Peta. Like healthy
Let's
boundaries.
merge together, right? No.
Right? Let's be one. I'm like, no. So I had to like distinct like learn the healthy, connections and healthy boundaries. And I'm 40 and I'm still learning that. It's tough. It's been tough. But I'm grateful to be here and to be having these kind of conversations, so we can all figure it out together.
Absolutely.
Yes. But thank you, Sylvie. Could you tell us where we can find you? Tell us all the things.
I would say the biggest hub would be to find me on my Instagram page at Silvy Khoucasian. You probably don't want me to spell it out because it's too long. I'll let
Yeah,
Peter write it.
it will be there. It will be there. It will be edited in. Yes.
That's where I share a lot of my that's where I share a lot of my relationship content, and I do lives and I talk about a lot of the things that we've talked about here, boundaries and attachment styles. And my website is sylvykhoucasian.com. And I would say for anyone that wants to learn more about boundaries, that's one of the biggest online programs that has really meant so much to be able to create. I created it with my own partner. And it supports a lot of the frameworks that we talked about today. And we're actually redoing it. So in a couple of weeks, it's going to be revamped even more to make sure that it's including power dynamics and how that shapes so much of our experiences around boundaries. So those are three ways.
Awesome. Yes. This was really like a very enlightening conversation for me. I hope it serves everyone that's watching or listening. And yeah, thank you so much.
For having me, Peta.
No, thank you. This is definitely a dream for me. So I appreciate being in this space with you and just having these conversations with you and learning for myself all of these things around boundaries. So
My
I pray that it serves everyone as well. So
and everyone just knowing that we're in a really funky time right now. So just be as ease filled when it comes to these learning these new skills as possible as well.
yeah, thank you for that reminder too. Because I could go on like, but I wish I knew better. Why didn't I know better? Right? Like we can go there, but compassion is a thing, and it's okay exactly where we are. It's okay. But thank you, Sylvie. Please continue to do the work that you're doing. I'm definitely appreciative of all that you put out there, and I look forward to seeing more from you.
Thank you so much, Peter. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.